You've put the blood, sweat, and tears of an entire year into reaching this moment. Forget your past triumphs, forget your past failures. All that matters is what happens this weekend. The question is, who wants it more?
A lower bracket run, a G2 speciality. Giantex, Patrick, Jackie's and Ignar left to try and find a way back in, but Mikyx is having none of it. G2 will take the 3-0 and meet up with BDS on Friday.
They've been actually beating us like this entire year. I don't want to go to Munich without beating G2. It feels wrong in a way.
Oh!
I think we'll win in Munich. I think we're the strongest team.
The Baron down to 5,000. Labrov is flanked all the way around, but spotted on a ward now. There's the bullet time. Adam on the front line! Noah gets it somehow! Noah gets it!
For me, that is the best thing about playing actually in the big arena, knowing that we have 5 games, and if you win, you're the winner, and if you lose, you might as well be last because it doesn't matter extra second.
Two teams, Alva's going to get stunned up. Facial Fisher coming out. Frescowi waiting around the corner, lands the charm onto Caps, and Caps is sent packing. Now G2 to find a way to fight back, but Ayoya will not give them that opportunity.
It would be an immense upset for everyone if we win the LEC finals.
As we sink into this final weekend, let rage, let passion accompany us on this glorious stage.
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you so much.
New classic, but a classic all the same. BDS versus G2. As they enter the stage, we have one question in the back of our mind. Can BDS do it? Can they beat G2 in a best of 5 where many have failed?
G2 is the demon on BDS's shoulders that they have struggled to shrug off. And today, that demon is poised and ready to return to the stage that they believe is rightfully theirs.
Yep.
And it will be up to BDS to stop them and carve their way to Munich by going through an opponent that, as Adam said, it would feel wrong for them not to qualify by beating this team.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, they have to beat the demons. Never have they beaten G2 in a best of series. They've only ever beaten them twice in best of ones. And now they find themselves against the Goliath that is G2, trying to make it to Munich.
And we have to remember that said Goliath as well has got a good track record where the last time they actually didn't win a championship was back in 2023 spring, and it was against Mad, funnily enough, that we've seen G2 fall to the lower bracket because of that said organization. We open up this best of 5, and again, that we hope is going to be a doozy, starting with the Vibe Band, the Azir on the other side as well, since Caps has started to pick that up more and more. Let's see what else gets thinned out of the pool, building this mini-meta within the series.
Yeah, my biggest question mark is what happens with mid-jungle, because when you come in towards VDS last week and G2, they were kind of shifting back towards what was their old styles, which was Caps going back towards these AD mids. We saw Sheo going back towards the Sejuani and the Maokai, these tank engaged junglers. So I'm curious if BDS go for that style or if they want to go back towards the AP junglers that they were showing life with at the start of the split.
Look at this support priority from G2, really looking to try and target Labrov's pool. We think back to a lot of his recent performances. Rel is something that this team often gets denied due to his priority on it throughout the Summer Split.
Yep.
So far in the season finals, he's been playing a lot of Alistair, and I wonder if G2 have a plan ready to answer this pick from Labrov.
But do you set up the Leona first pick here? Because with Braum and Rel gone, that feels like
Ashe,
one of the big
course.
strong ones. Yeah, so they're going to take the Ashe, but now I feel like you kind of set up for Labrov to take a Leona on the opposite side. Maybe you want to try and go for the MF as well, but Leona priority is very high for me right now.
Maokai is something that we've been seeing a lot here in Europe.
Oh yeah.
It feels so safe, very flexible. We've seen both AP and full tank option as builds. Now G2 have the options to just secure their bot lane here if they want to, whether that be the Leona. Instead, they can also answer the picks. They could pick something like the Lucian in the mid, maybe even the Sejuani. Yone available as well. The Sejuani-Yone combo could be something that we see from G2. They seem to have a lot of options at their disposal.
As an OCE now, import over to EU, can I ask a question about as Ivern and Nautilus gets locked in?
Oh.
We always see a Nivea come through. Do you guys know the reference?
Nah, he just likes his fans.
Okay, good. Just always have to ask because again.
Well, I think it's a Yike ode to his girlfriend. I might be wrong in that, but I'm pretty sure there's
So like the
some
Whippo
symbolism.
sweetheart
Yes,
mentality.
I believe
love
so.
it. Thank you for that as well. Ivan does get locked in. Another pick you're talking about in jungle that we consistently see paired up with AD mids as Ezreal on the other side. And there's going to be going down to Ice. No flex here, most likely.
This Nautilus priority is surprising to me. We haven't really seen it from Mikyx. I mean, we've seen him play the champion. We saw him playing in summer, but in season finals, it's not really been on the priority list for anyone. And to then blind pick it, I mean, it definitely explains both the Braum and the Rel bans taking those away. But now they can even pinch this pull even more if they want to remove the Alistar as well.
Yeah, I think you take away the Alistar, you take away the Leona, and you've set up a really strong bot lane for yourself. And there's limited then engage tools that you can offer in towards Labrov on the bottom side, which honestly kind of hinders BDS's game plan, because what the fallback has been is Maokai plus engage support. But if you get rid of the engage supports, it then falls on Adam, where maybe he wants to bring out something like an Ornn, but that just leaves a bunch of room for Broken Blade to play with his champion.
But I love the point about Labrov without agency, Labrov without engage as well. I know that's definitely been the playstyle of BDS through and through throughout the year. The pool's not going to shrink too much though. We get rid of the Varus, which again can be a flex pick. They're thinking maybe Adam takes that top. What else does that show?
Or the Corki top.
Oh,
so it could be considering things as a potential answer into mid lane. The Smolder going to be removed as BDS's clear focus is limiting this AD carry pool in the mid lane. Zeri, of course, is still available. We haven't really seen it from Caps, but it's something that you always have to be prepared for. In any case, what is this final ban going to be from G2? The Rumble. Okay, so they still respect that as a champion. We've been seeing a number of counter picks up towards the top side of the map. Surprisingly, things like Kennen, that has been a very high priority for Broken Blade and G2 throughout the season finals, is not going to make its presence known just yet. We'll see if it comes through in the final 2 picks for G2.
It does feel like teams have kind of come in with, hey, when we see G2, we want to have something prepared for that Kennen. Like we saw MDK coming in with like the Galileo and these kind of things to try and shut that down. So may not be mega high priority, although in this case, I think it's actually a really strong pick, because not really a super strong engage, or at least there's many squishies that you can try and find with that Kennen. So could be an option here for Broken Blade in that top side.
Remember as well, Adam has played the Cassio top. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know they're kind of wild with their drafting, and if you're talking about answers and maybe draft preparations towards G2, that's in the back of my mind. Maybe Kennen for Adam, if he played it well, and we questioned him earlier in the split, but showed up big. The Zeri you guys also talked about as G2 round out the draft.
So the Renekton, bit of an LPL staple, I would say, something that is a very high priority over there. It's going to be locked in for G2 as basically a safe, blindable top lane pick. Of course, there are plenty of counters that Adam could go for, but it depends on what their goal is to round out their composition. Do they feel like they need more damage? Do they want more utility? I was thinking to myself, Mundo is something we haven't seen for a while, but into champions like Ashe, it can be very effective. The fact that you have that passive to be able to tank up things like the Ashe arrow, the fact that you get all that bonus movement speed, and low mobility AD carries just struggle to escape from this juggernaut in the top lane.
It's also, you just don't really have a huge amount of damage to take him down. With Ashe, you want to go for static shiv into a lot of these builds, and it just isn't really a tank shredder. And when you look towards Zeri as well, even though we've been seeing like Immortal Shieldbow Force first, or even some Bork builds, it's not great at taking down the Mundo. So if Adam gets time to scale, he's going to be in a great spot. But I think when you have the Ivern and the Renekton, that is a incredibly potent combo that you can look to try and bully out Adam early, give BB a bit of a lead in that top side, and then lend that into the rest of the game where you're just looking for picks with this Ashe.
When I look at this BDS composition, it's tried and true BDS. We talked a lot about them trying to evolve their style throughout the Summer Split. In season finals, especially after their defeat in the upper bracket to Fnatic, they reassessed, reevaluated, and their priorities are stick to what we know, play to our strengths, and they're looking to rely on Nuke and Ice being those long-range AD carries to provide the damage with a very reliable front line with both engage, pick options, and defensive tools to play around these team fights.
Because what they know is what got them to 3rd place throughout the year. BDS is a classic story, right? They are a 3rd place team, and you know, coming through as 4th seed at Worlds last year as well. We're like, hang on, this team doing so good.
The question is that enough to beat the Titan that they have not been able to beat in a best-of series? We're going to be finding out today. It's game 1 versus BDS and G2. If G2 win, Fnatic and Mad Lions Koi will lock the spots at World Championship. We'll have our 3 teams going to Munich. If G2 lose, then only the finalists will be locking their spots for the World Championship, given that G2 already have that spot secured. A lot on the line for BDS to keep their remaining year alive.
And I mean, they've got to keep going as well. Don't forget, they've got the matchup between Fnatic, Mad, the loser of that, to go through and try and get into the finals too. It all hinges on this. You'd argue the most important matchup of the LEC season finals thus far, and maybe throughout, depending on who we send to Worlds. Now, we already talked a little bit about the drafts here. As for G2, I like, again, playing towards Broken Blade. Dagda, you talked a little bit about how Yike syncs up here. Yike has been under scrutiny in this season finals as well. And so him on a more supportive jungler to let his solo lanes thrive looks like good news to me.
Yeah, I think it was a pick that worked out very well for them in their last series as well. So I'm excited to see him come back onto this pick. And especially when you have the double AD carries, being able to give them the on-hit AP damage is big. But Adam, coming in towards this mid lane here.
Cheeky.
We've got a BDS lane swap. Last week we saw G2 Giant X try to lane swap on G2, and it didn't work out quite the way that they wanted, but BDS are a team that have leveraged this to beat G2 in the regular season before. Broken Blade is very suspicious. He has no information. He knows that Adam was spotted in mid lane. Mikyx being an absolute nuisance, gonna get the Ignite down.
Level 2 on Sheo. Dredgeline doesn't connect, and that would make a difference, but Ignite now down as Sheo goes back to clearing. Broken Blade has spotted out that BDS are now in this swap.
Yeah, BDS are trying to mind game it though a little bit, because you were like, hey, you know, Sheo's on his own. Of course there's nobody in that top side, but once he realized that there was nobody there on the bottom end, Mikyx's just being a nuisance. But you can see Yike is already up on that top side, so he's able to cover for any sort of potential dive. And Broken Blade should be able to get this wave, and Yike as well has been able to get a good amount of his jungle, whereas Sheo's been pushed off.
So the question naturally becomes why BDS even lane swapping in the first place. We look at G2 and how their approach to draft has been. This very high priority on Ashe gives their bot lane push over lane. We think back to when G2 is at their strongest. How do they get early game leads? It's often through the bot side of the map, having that stronger 2 versus 2. And BDS want to try and mitigate that. By picking the Ezreal and the Rakan, it gives them roaming potential. It makes the Ezreal very safe, and it gets them out of what it should have been a very difficult lane.
The only thing I'm worried about, though, is what it looks like for things like Void Grubs and stuff, right? Because there are moments where, yes, BDS will get the crash here, but Hansama and Mikyx will get a good lead off just having extra gold available from this bot lane tower, and you start to rotate Mikyx around the map. But Broken Blade now being forced away. Hit level 2 crucially, though. The fact he's been able to get that experience is such a nice lead for him over Adam.
I think that's the biggest thing. Broken Blade is being denied XP, but the fact that he got that level 2, while Adam only just now ticked over to level 2, we kind of look at all this XP being shared. TP now comes into the bot side of the map.
Pull it out. Mundo goes where he pleases, drops on the ground. That's denied. That means CC can now hit him as Broken Blade walks up the top wave. He's thinking, what can I do? But Slice and Dice in between, and the auto attack still connect. He dies for it as meanwhile on the bottom side. There's a trade for Adam. Yike flashes away. Hansama takes another turret shot. It is better for BDS through bot, and Adam getting one there at least means an advantage.
Broken Blade didn't even get any of that experience off of trying to get to the tower thanks to a nice knockup, but now he's TP back. But the tower shots are brutal against BDS, and that might just caught him out there.
What's happening? I mean, the Arcane shifts away, still has the summoners up and available. I guess the one plus side here, gents, is that Broken Blade at least gets to sit here and farm the rest of the wave, while Adam in bot couldn't do the same.
Well, Adam TP'd to the bot tower, so he didn't have that teleport in the same way Broken Blade does. So now Broken Blade gets that experience on the top side, but Adam did get the kill. He did get to stick around for a little bit more of the experience. So when you look at those experience bars, it's a little ahead for Broken Blade, but that extra little bit of gold that Adam got on the kill means he's coming in with a Ruby Crystal.
160 up as well, so minute the difference, but the Ruby Crystal Dagda, very well spotted as a pickup there. Might help a little bit more with the laning phase, because we go back to standard here, and that's 3 plates still picked up. That's still a 300 gold lead for Hansama with Berserker Greaves with a longsword in lane. He's got the damage to actually play out this 2v2 a little bit better.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think this was better for G2. Because I think that, as you rightly said, Dagda, the fact that Adam TP'd to bot ended up costing him a lot. And experience is very valuable in the early game, especially when you're considering looking to play around these early objectives. Early objectives just give you a lot of control over the direction of the game moving into the mid-game especially. And when I think we look at G2's most recent series, that control in the mid-game is probably their biggest strength as a team.
And a lot of that control is going to help out with the fact that Yike is one of the recipients of a lot of the lead that G2 generated, because he got his camps on the top side, then got to go and take some of those camps on the bottom lane that Sheo had to abandon because of Mikyx. So he's got an experienced lead and now wants to lean that into bot lane.
And now with the damage in bot lane as well, it makes it easy to get this engaged. Labrov has his summoners available, but how are they going to pop it here? Good root from Yike. The cleanse comes out as Mikyx jumps in for another dredge line. Part 2 is even better for Ice. He gets the return kills. Mikyx goes too far.
Now, Mickey's Nautilus is known for something, and unfortunately, we're seeing on our screen what it is. Now, I don't think that he's inherently doing anything wrong. In his first death, he's setting up the dive for his team, but the execution goes awry, and this time they just overcommit to the play. They think with the arrival of Yike, along with the root connecting, that they would have enough damage to secure a kill, but BDS find the outplay, and they find another kill onto
They didn't
Mikyx.
even have to burn the heal on Labrov. Like, they were fine in that. They had no issues at all. And again, it's like these little mistakes that we've seen creeping into G2's game plan, and it's ended up benefiting BDS there, because that gold lead that was fairly sizable in that bot lane, about 400 gold, now only down to 200 thanks to the early kill.
I know I've heard those words before. G2, little holes in the game plan. I mean, look, at least with the kill that went earlier, still having a gold lead is something, but Hans Summer, how long does he maintain that? He's got level 6, getting the push in bot now. Labrov kind of angling up with his jungler nearby. BDS waiting for a counterplay in case there is one.
It's an interesting dynamic that, honestly, we've seen from G2 many times before, where their early game is still under question.
Yep.
Right? You kind of look at the goal and you think, oh, well, it's not too bad, and ultimately you're right. But the next question then becomes, well, who do we favor when it comes to the late game? Well, naturally, Renekton is a champion that you inherently assume is going to fall off, especially into things like Corki and the Ezreal, who just have that huge range advantage, and the question always becomes, how do you as Renekton get onto these champions?
Yeah.
Of course, there are also the fact that you've got the Ivern utility paired up with the double AD carry. Both Zeri and Ashe do have great scaling, and I think it's tough to say. It's just about a lot of the elements around these carries that I kind of favor BDS in straight up 5v5.
I agree. I mean, the way I see G2's composition operating is like, hey, we're trying to fish for arrows with Hans Summer as PB goes low, and try and set up like quick picks in the mid game that enable us to take towers and start to generate these big leads that you can then play for fights with. But if you're in a position where you're giving early kills across, you're not generating these early leads, well, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to operate in that style, because maybe Adam just gets too tanky to kill, but right now he's not. And Yike realizes that.
It comes back to your point. Let's try and escalate once again. Underneath turret, there's Dominus popped immediately. Root down because the passive is down, and Broken Blade gets the kills. He pops Adam right into the ground.
A very clean dive, and G2 finally finding some success in some of these early plays.
Yeah.
It's going to set up this Renekton beautifully and kind of further exacerbate the experience difference that was already there a little bit, but is now going to be a full level gap between the two.
Dagda asks, and they shall receive. G2 with an early game top that now moves up. You can see Xe just picked up as well, while BDS are trading bot side of the map. Dragon picked up. Remember, Grubs were already taken earlier on by G2, so it's an objective counterbalance.
Yeah, what I think you're probably going to look for now is if G2 can, off this reset, maybe look for an arrow up through mid lane, especially because you can see Yike is already starting to hover in towards the mid. So I'm curious if the Ashe arrow comes out now to try and set this up.
Caps' baiting is being super slow here. Sheo walks into the wave. Just a small trade, nothing more, as Labrov also making his move.
Now as these supports set their eyes on mids to try and offer that assistance, get that control over the wave, I do want to turn our attention to the AD carries of this matchup, because when we think about both Hans and Ice, I think that they were probably some of the most consistent players that we've seen from them so far in the season finals.
Yep.
Especially Hans Summer, play that's been under a lot of scrutiny. We know behind the scenes he's been putting a lot of time into grinding the solo queue ladder, working on his champion pool, and G2 seem to have found a formula for him, but Ice, Mr. Consistent on the other side. I feel like that we have two very powerful AD carries that in this game are already set up for success.
And Ice is just terrifying on his Ezreal when he's able to get rolling as well. Ice has been an incredible pickup for BDS, but that's why G2 already again down here to try and put that pressure on towards him. Labrov to spot them out. Mikyx can't get the hook here though.
Waiting for the dredge line, but away with the battle dance is super easy here as G2 go a little bit deeper. Yike is now at level 6 with Daisy to pop on out as going to steal the camp first. Mikyx went over the wall, but he's going to get poked out a bit. He can't stay here for long as it's just the camp steal and backing away.
I mean, exactly as you say, Dagda, the menace that Ice is on this Ezreal. Do you see how much damage he was able to do there? In a 2 versus 3, they were the ones forcing G2 back once again, and he's very close to completing that Trinity Force. So Ice continuing to ramp up a player that BDS are going to put their trust in as the game continues. And we're kind of getting closer now to the respawn of those grubs. I wonder if BDS is going to look to contest, or if instead, given how strong this Renekton is, they'll likely concede.
Set up on the bot lane first, at least before we get there. 30 seconds, and now we see Hans Summer flashing away, which means he's not going to have that if there is a grub trade. Sheo is looking for more money down the bot side, while Broken Blade, we shift the camera up, and Buddy is having a good time with the turret, while Hans just keeps getting bullied out, because BDS really need to make a trade happen.
But BDS are going to be able to get some of these plates, and a huge amount of that is the fail play that G2 went for. Because Mikyx was too low to stick around after that, BDS are then able to punish and get this play on the bottom side. So nice response from BDS. The only thing I'd like to see them do is maybe leverage this into the Void Grub area, because 6 Void Grubs going across to G2 for this play may not be the best in the long run.
Summer with no summoner spells. Definitely a scary position for him to be in. Turn my attention to Caps as he makes his way back out onto the map. Very nice farm from him, 122 CS, 11 minutes in. But here comes Yike and here comes Sheo.
Oh, Dredgeline does connect though, and TP is going to be coming down from Adam. The arrow to commit onto the jungle, but they haven't killed him yet. As he flashes away, BDS re-engage on the summonerless Hans Summer. Man, he's been calling Hans Mama after getting taken down as BDS commit all, and they want more gold to speed it up.
Really good play from BDS. They knew Adam had TP advantage, but now Adam needs to get out from underneath the tower. Should be able to do so. But it will leave Broken Blade with that alone time on the tower to take that one for himself.
We've just been seeing throughout this early game that Ezreal, Maokai, and Rakan just have a stronger 3v3.
Yep.
And then that was only further reinforced the moment that Adam joined the fray. You saw how slowly they were actually working through Sheo. I just think at this point in the game, Ashe doesn't quite have that same power that the Ezreal does when you combine that sheen with the constant Qs that you can throw out.
So then my simple question is, what's going to be more worth here if you're looking at the side of G2? Because Broken Blade just got solo turret top. He picked up Eclipse as well. This Renekton is very much elevated after pushing Adam away from lane. They're obviously sacking the bot lane a little bit more with Hans Summer and Mikyx on a bit of an island.
Well, you kind of need to make something happen here with the Renekton. I thought they were going to keep him up here to try and go for Void Grubs, but they're actually going to move him down to this bottom side to try and get vision, it looks like, for the Dragon, or maybe even look at a potential dive against Adam, but I'm curious, actually, because I thought that what we were going to see is BDS shifting topside, trying to use the Triforce completion to look for Void Grubs, which we kind of see at the moment. But I'm not sure if G2, how heavily they want to go for this dive with Nuke having TP.
Just a bit of damage on Adam for now. Remember that passive is down, and he just pulls out all the dosage at once. But still, G2 zone him off, and turret's going to go down.
It's very clear that their priority is just securing this turret, but also I think that G2 don't seem to like it when Hans Summer is put behind. And so the moment that they see all this pressure being thrown towards him, they said, you know what, let's leverage our strength. Let's bring Broken Blade from the top side of the map, make sure that we unlock this bot tower. Sure, we'll sacrifice the grubs, but we'll set ourselves up for the next dragon as well. And the thing is, it's really hard for BDS to cross map because there's no tower available. We kind of look at the overall plates, you look at the overall gold. G2 find themselves with a 1k gold lead just off the fact that they've been able to find these plates and funnel them into both Broken Blade and now to a degree Hans Summer.
I'm looking at them, can they try and pick up Dragon off the back of this as well? They should have realized that Nuke is resetting off of where he was positioned. Even there, they should spot him, but Yike is going to reset as well, because I think with this reset, with double Triforce now out for BDS, I don't think G2 are in a position to actually take this fight, because they don't have that first island complete on towards Caps, and in a position where you're facing double Triforce, I think you're just too far behind. Despite the gold lead.
Was picked up, on that point of Yike backing away. Note that as well, BDS did just match out Grubs, so here in this early game, there is still an element of matching for BDS, but 1,500 gold right now is the lead for G2.
The thing I'm noticing, though, is because G2 are up against Adam on this Mundo, they've had to opt in for double Blade of the Rune King, which is fine, don't get me wrong, but it does mean Ashe is way less threatening on trying to shove out mid-wave. So trying to look for picks with Ashe is going to become a little bit more difficult now. So BDS, using that advantage, to just force their way in towards River, having Ice just nestled in behind the tank line.
I'm expecting Mikyx to throw a hook, aren't you? We know Mikyx's Nautilus. You guys were talking before. There's one. Ice gets behind the wall, so here's the twisted advance. The engage is good at Mikyx isolated, but for now, with the knock-up thanks to Davey, BDS can't really get more into the backline, and Hans starts firing away onto Labrov, who flashes further. He almost gets poked down to oblivion. Broken Blade's here with the dominance, zones him away. G2 a little bit low, but remember again that redemption will be up soon, and G2 have the river for now.
Caps desperate to heal up after getting collapsed on once the TP came through. Surprisingly, he didn't run away, he actually went in, knowing that he had the shield and support from Yike, and it will actually be G2 that have control over the Dragon. BDS, with the health that they had, I thought that they'd be more confident in actually going for the contest, but I guess because they used so many ults in the exchange, with so much of the utility gone, they said, you know what, we'll concede it, it's only the second Dragon of the game, and instead we'll look to try and put some cross-map pressure towards top.
This game one reminds me of Winter Caps. Remember the Caps that was just always farming? Like G2 a bit chaotic in sides, and they're always looking for these trades, and Caps was just this solid player who over-farms his mid laner and gets ahead individually uses that in teamfights later. Here in this game, ahead of the curve by a little bit, but still a bounty on his head to show how good his early game has been.
I was going to mention that. Even though he has less gold than Nuke, he's the one that finds himself with a bounty. I don't understand.
50 gold more bounty as well, by the way. Let's try and math that out.
I mean, he's about to get his cull as well, so he's going to be in a fairly alright spot.
300 gold bounty then, Dagda.
So, but I think the important part here is just like how well G2 have been at getting into positions ahead of BDS, because BDS were trying to contest that dragon, but you know, Caps got there before Nuke did. You had Broken Blade, who was going to be more of the threat in these fights, especially with the position he had, and G2 definitely looking at how they want to enter in these fights, when they need to be in these positions, and it just feels like a couple of members of BDS are just like a step behind.
It's a tense one, and it's a far cry from what we saw last week. Both teams securing 3-0s over their opponents, GIANTX and SK, eliminating them from the season finals. But here, both teams with very similar compositions. In terms of their execution, there is degrees of difference. Now Mikyx, one in danger.
Again, once more, deep into the breach as Sheo just keeps him there, spaces him. Labrov helps out, but here's Han Sama to the rescue. AD carry, please save me, but I'm not sure he can. Mikyx flashes away while Adam chases him down, and as he gets a kill, Broken Blade, he's bullying Nuke on the backside, but he can't finish off the play. He's now outranged as for G2. This has got a little bit sketchy. They've lost their engaged support, and Broken Blade's gotten low.
Yeah, they need to be careful not overextending on the play, because Hansama still has that Ashe ult, so they can turn very quickly and set up for it. Broken Blade now trying to draw them down to bot lane off of this mid lane turret, but Yike here to support.
Yike leveraging Daisy to apply the slow with the trigger seed to make sure that Adam can't chase him down. But it's a bit of an awkward exchange because ultimately Mikyx just got caught out, but there's no objectives really for the teams to play for. You can see the top lane being pushed out very far. Means that BDS need to now go and address these waves. And it's one of those situations where it was G2 setting up on the map. They were leveraging the pressure that they had to then set up for vision. And then BDS, while they were doing that, then tried to contest. Usually the downside of that is you use a lot of farm on the cross map, but then G2 actually TP'd in to contest them in the fight, and then they were in a numbers disadvantage. So in the grand scheme of things, it's Mickey's KDA that's going to be hurt. But now the Herald's going to begin, and it's G2 that's once again first to the objective.
I don't think Mikyx cares about his KD anymore, but he just wins when he ins. So it doesn't really matter.
I went back and I looked at the Fnatic series. In Game 2, he was 1-8 at Nautilus with a win. In Game 3, he was 0-8 at Nautilus with a win. So, you know, win game is all that matters to him. Yep.
Herald's going to go down, though, at the very least. One step closer for G2 in that factor, but as they pick it up, BDS, they're not going to commit anything else. Note that Adam does have a teleport advantage for the meantime. Maybe something that can be leveraged here as we start looking towards that next dragon, depending on what side of the map he is. That Baron setup as well as an also option as we fast approach 20 minutes into the game. And Vedius already said it's a tense one. And I'm glad, because I was just hoping, regardless of who wins this series, I just wanted competition, right? We have had some very one-sided series so far in these playoffs. And especially when G2 and BDS destroy their opponents, you'd hope that they'd come together in a culmination and try and take it the distance.
Yeah, I think the big one for me is that at this stage it's still so neck and neck. You know, G2 have a slightly more difficult to operate composition, I feel like, when it comes to setting up engages. So in that, and BDS just have a very strong front-to-back team fight. So you've always got opportunities for BDS to try and take fights when it comes towards objectives. The problem that they're having, though, is G2 are just doing a better job of leveraging side lane pressure to get deeper vision so they can spot out where BDS are. And it's making it hard now for BDS to control the map, for them to move people into positions to contest G2.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is that when I kind of look at the map, I think G2 has a better map state. You know, if you were to try and give them like a point, you'd give like G2 a slight point advantage just because of the fact they have the Herald, the fact that they still have an extra outer tower. They're likely going to be setting that Herald up to secure that mid tower as well. They have better vision control. However, the big advantage for BDS is I think that with the item spikes coming through, as the arrow tries to connect, it's going to go wide. But BDS, I think, are just going to be spiking harder that much sooner. We'll see if G2 has completed their second item in the near future, but Nuke and Ice are about to fully stack those tiers, and that's going to be a huge spike for BDS with their front line as well.
Oh, as Labrov is walking in the fog of war, and we might pause that thought. A pick out here on the Rakan, but the quickness gives him space. He turns it into an engage, and for Labrov getting out with the depth charge on his head, he survives, and now G2 are in so much trouble as Adam starts running down and cleaving the ground. Yike flashes around, and now Ice is coming for him. Summer gets off on the back line, and that's going to be the start of Baron.
Look at how strong this front line is from BDS. G2 just don't have the damage yet. And with the member down, BDS feel confident to start off the Baron.
They had no TP on Broken Blade, as Hysterics was saying, so BDS bring on Adam. And now Labrov off on the side, has no flash, we can look for a potential engage, but Baron is gone.
Yike with no redemption either makes it that much harder. Broken Blade just tries to get something mid as Herald charge is still going to come through, but G2 might even lose Mikyx here after that said charge. Was it worth it, my son? We'll have to find out in the long run. Ice with another kill, and Herald will just drop here, but Baron over to BDS is a big game swing.
But now those map advantages that G2 had don't really mean much. It's ultimately just a lot of standing gold for BDS to go and grab with the Baron at their backs. G2 were over-ambitious. I mean, I don't even... It's hard to criticize because they sit there and they see Labrov isolated, they go for a pick, and they just don't have the damage. That's all it is. And because he was able to get away, G2 find themselves overcommitted in a situation that in many other compositions they would have just gotten a quick one-shot and left. And it ends up in disaster for G2.
I will say, I think my biggest criticism of them is they've just no pressure on the map, so Adam always gets the TP in here. He goes for it, they nearly get Labrov, sure, but this is still a 3v3, and Ice has a quick rotation from mid. Now you get Adam involved, so there was always a relatively high chance that this was just going to turn into a numbers advantage for BDS, especially with Baron spawning, but now again, G2 versus the objective.
And I mean, even the True Shot Barrage to start off this objective as Mikyx goes in, but I don't know if he's going to get out this time. What do I mean this time? He's never getting out of these fights. Ice with a 4th kill, opens up the show, and BDS in this series look like they're ready to go. Dragon might even be theirs too, as G2 have to back away because Adam's also pushing mid.
Adam is pushing mid, which means that G2 might spot that it could be a potential for 4v4 with that big tank out of the way, but now Adam just going to shove in, he'll back it up as Labrov is going to escort him out, and Dragon will go to BDS.
The beauty of what BDS are doing is that they don't really need to do anything. They've just allowed G2 to be the ones to make the plays, and they've punished them with just a very straightforward and easy to execute composition. Oh, you want to start a fight? Adam will TP in. You want to engage in us? Maokai has the ultimate. Oh, your AD carry who doesn't have flash? Well, we have Rakan who can easily dive into the backline. And at no point have we ever really seen Nuka Ice under any threat in this game.
But the funny thing is, that's what G2 used to do to BDS. Like, you'd see a clever TP ward the Broken Blade to go to cut off retreats. They'd set up for these picks or have these overextensions from BDS in which they would punish. And it feels like BDS is kind of taking a page out of that book and just turning it back, going onto GT, saying, hey, what are you going to do about it? You are the ones making mistakes.
And have come into that set mid game that G2 always thrived in and pummeled them quite easily. I like it how Vedius said, kind of just done nothing, they just played their comp, and the easy to execute style has worked out amazingly here. I mean, Sheo has had an easy roll too. He presses R and counter engages.
I mean, it's so easy for pro teams to overcomplicate the game, right? And BDS is a team that we've always praised them for their patience, especially around their objective setups. And while we didn't always get to see that in summer, I think this is a great demonstration of, okay, we know what we need to do. We were the ones that initiated the swap. We have to execute this properly. They put the pressure down into Broken Blade. They did, in fact, set that up. But on the cross map, they also, Adam traded 1-for-1 in the dive. And so at every single point, every single play that G2 tried to make, BDS, they either traded even or up. And you can see that in the kill score. You're now seeing that in the objective control, and you're seeing that in the gold lead that they've now been able to build. So credit to BDS. They came in with a game plan that in the past we would tout as very typical BDS, and why they were predictable and why G2 especially would find ways to punish them. But in this meta, in this game at the very least, BDS is the one that finds the advantages and is looking to close that game.
I do think it showcases the improvements BDS have made though over the course of the year, which is like better understanding of how to use TP plays, better understanding of how to utilize side lanes, and it's kind of G2 taught them these lessons whether they wanted to or not. We now get to feel the wrath of this as BDS set up on mid. This is a great ultimate opportunity for Sheo if he looks for it.
And an ultimate opportunity for Ice as well, as he keeps showing as he does the damage to poke them down and threaten. Now with that Baron, they weren't able to break into tier 2s and through mid, but that pauses now because Sheo has to ult and flash away. So for G2, there's comeback potential with Broken Blade flashing in, and a late TP from Nuke, but the jungler's already dead. Labrov, his angle no longer exists because G2 have numbers in his face. Now running up is Broken Blade yet again, but G2 with their pick Nothing up on the map apart from turrets here to get them in the lead.
Exactly that, Hysterics. There is nothing to convert this pick into. G2 demonstrate the pick potential of their composition. Nautilus, Ashe, Renekton, Ivern, all great single target CC that can keep you CC'd for days. Unfortunately for Sheo, he was the target of said CC, but ultimately it's just going to slow BDS down a little bit, if that. You can already see Adam moving into the top side to steal away those camps that Caps would love to get for himself. But ultimately, ooh, hang on a second.
Good damage here. I mean, Caps is showcasing again.
So this is the thing, and this is the crucial thing that BDS have to be cautious of. I do think that in the straight-up front-to-back 5v5, I would give the advantage to BDS.
Okay.
But there's always that thought at the back of the mind, 3-item Zeri plus 3-item Ashe with an Ivern on top of that.
Support jungle.
Like, the support jungle can be a very effective tool at really elevating these AD carries in the late game. And remember that these fights are ultimately about who can kill the front line first.
So that's why I think the mistake that BDS just made is a showcase of how G2 can get it back. They had Nuke push inside. They stepped too far forward, not seeing G2 on the map, and they get the pick on towards Sheo. And now BDS are trying to do the same because they see Broken Blade on the side. They're grouped as multiple members, and now they get the mid lane tower. So a huge amount of this game so far has been a case of who is creating these slight numbers advantages on the map. But now it's Renekton who's coming mid and hasn't had to use the TP this time around. So BDS need to back up.
Flash is not available. I'm looking towards Ice especially, who's now front-lining a bit as Adam is joining in the party as well. Hello, Broken Blade, and goodbye, Broken Blade.
Get out to safety as G2 try to wrestle back some vision control. It's BDS that control the top side and the Baron respawning. Dragon also 30 seconds away. I wonder what the priority will be here for BDS. Dragon is, of course, the easier objective, but both teams grouping as 5 in the mid lane to wrestle that control. It is BDS that will have it. Now they can move off towards sides to push out these waves if they need to. Or maybe they just want to threaten the Baron itself.
Yeah, G2 kind of getting out of that danger zone.
Ice damage is big, and Mikyx, as he runs on in, is about to find out the cleaver of Adam and what it can do as well. Locked on down, Adam cares not. Labrov gets him right into the engage. Again, the arrow will mean nothing as Sheo gets the ulti, but Labrov this time will be taken down. Broken Blade thinks about the angle as Adam is just getting targeted as well, but it's still neck and neck. The health bar's better for BDS, but G2 have more members. They disengage as BDS now have their choice of that dragon.
And you're starting to see why Rakan isn't really a premier support in this meta. There is so much damage on G2 or in general in the game right now that if you go in, you're not always likely to get back out. And Labrov got caught there, and BDS still technically win the fight from a health bar point of view, so they get the dragon, but you do get that pick for G2.
Honestly, I really think I saved that fight for BDS. That should have been a lost fight, and when we get the replay, you'll see why. This initial damage onto Mikyx and Yike is good. At this point, you can just back away. I think the Rakan engage was a mistake because it's too much of an overcommitment. The Ashe arrow comes through to the back, and the backline is very scared of Broken Blade along with the Nautilus ultimate coming through. I think G2 do the right thing of just focusing the front line, but that ultimate there from Ice just did so much damage and immediately forced G2 to back away. They no longer had the health bars to be able to chase them down. So that could have been a massive disaster for BDS, and I want them to be very cautious moving forward about the fights that they take and that they don't overcommit.
And in this epic bot lane battle, we saw the to and fro in the early game where Hansara and Mikyx started getting caught out, or rather targeted. Ice with the 2k gold lead in the AD carry matchup, starting to rear its head as that damage even through the shield of Yike, which is quite large thanks to Majai's added into the pot as well, is starting to hurt more and more.
But look at this double infinity edge. These are the spikes that we were talking about. This is the point in the game where you really do have to be careful if you're BDS. You've been winning a lot of these fights because there's no real threat onto the backline, but now double AD carries really do have the tools to melt that front line.
The only upside for them is that there's no LDRs in play yet.
That's
so
true.
Adam having a ton of armor and now Randuin's plus the Thornmail on the way for Sheo means that they're going to be in a relatively good spot to try and fight back against this, but you still have to be very careful because basically Yike shields give you so much on-hit magic damage, it's absolutely absurd. So that's where a lot of that excess damage is coming from that we saw take down Adam in the last fight.
I mean, I will say, it's nice to see finally this AD carry meta being punished in terms of itemization. Right? Part of the reason why Kennen is so valuable in the meta is because of the AP damage he brings to the game. But so often we've seen double AD carries, triple AD carries, but because you have so many ADs, not much armor actually ends up getting built, but Adam does not have that problem.
Oh, and he's also isolated. Wait, Caps is here. Blade of the Wrong King gets the slow, and there's a bit of damage done,
Does
but
he
it is a
care,
Mundo.
Hysterics?
But I'm still waiting for the follow-up, because there it is from Mikyx. Direct line starts us off, and looks to continue. Ice with a reposition here, and we back away from this never-ending ARAM, it feels like, to see who has Warmogs.
BDS are trying to bait G2 into River, but you always have to be so careful, because if you end up with a Maokai ult just coming in across this line here, it becomes really, really difficult for G2 to try and play into it. So BDS now, having got that vision, forcing G2 back, get to start up the Baron, but it's spotted.
All while that was happening, Nuke was pushing in the bot wave. He gets level 18, he can go back to base, TP in, and now they have the numbers advantage with Caps and bot.
Rob.
Remember, Mikyx by himself, Han Summer walking in as well. This could be a trap. Labrov with the quickness as well, finds the engage on the perfect target. Just like that, the dirt is gone. A quick double for our level 18 superstar, and BDS with yet another Baron make G2 fall.
A great sequence of plays from BDS. They controlled the map, they played it patiently, and they did exactly what they needed to do. Nuke on the bot side, creating that pressure, going back to base, TPing in. They had the numbers advantage, the nice flank from Labrov. That was the level of execution we wanted to see.
And I feel like I've done Nuke dirty this game, because I was like, oh, it's like Winter Caps where he farms and he's this reliable carry for the team. But Nuke has always been one step ahead, whether it's 10, 15, 20 CS, having the bounty on his head as well. He's at 350 CS at 31 minutes as well. He may as well be the extra caps on the pile as he picks up yet another turret in the inner top side.
And a huge amount of that comes back to that first Baron that BDS were able to get. That's the one that got the towers. That's the one that opened up the map for Nuke to start to play out and get into that side lane, get this CS for himself. But you can see here, this is a great setup from BDS. They've already cleared out all that vision. Hans spotted by Labrov there. I think Hans probably could have been aware that Labrov was probably going to come around just from that positioning, but it doesn't matter. The ult flash in, so there's no way Hans can react, and manages to get the knock-up as well. Really well orchestrated there by Labrov.
Honestly, I kind of expected Hans to react. I was a little surprised that he didn't. In any case, we find BDS down the bot side of the map, setting their sights on G2's base.
Well, it is a flank. This is the last hurrah for G2, because they've already lost Mikyx, or should I say about to, as Adam runs in from the side. Broken Blade now spotted out by the deep waters. Labrov zones out. The arrow hits backline into Ice, but he's unperturbed. He's fine, everyone. With the Baron as well, he's leading the minions in. This ant is marching hard. Ice is now running forward yet again. Hitting the Qs is child's play for this man, who has made a very different BDS this year and is making a very easy BDS for game number 1.
This looks spectacular for BDS. The poke is real. The damage is sticking. G2 are collapsing.
But again, the quickness rolls on in, and the BDS fans may be surprised that they start so strong. We're hyping up the G2 head-to-head. We're hyping up G2 in yet another challenging spot. But BDS are the ones that shine as they're looking to end here.
They certainly are. BDS from start to finish have found advantage after advantage. And now they're looking to secure game 1 against G2.
With an easy comp, with back to front, that's my BDS we remember. And with such easy gameplay, they take down the behemoths of G2 in game 1 and give them an edge here in season finals.
The way BDS won this was so interesting to me, because yes, they had this front-to-back comp, but it was constantly about, hey, we're going to utilize the fact we have a TP advantage, catch Broken Blade when he's on a position, catch people as they overextend. This was BDS really looking at how G2 like to play and saying, we can punish your mistakes in the exact same way and bring it to a game win.
With some smart map movement and players playing at this peak as well. Nice to see. We're going to have to find out if G2 can fight back, however, because this is the team you cannot underestimate. We're going to go to a short break, and when we return, game 2 will be upon us. With G2's revenge arc? Question mark.
I think we will win in Munich. I think we're the strongest team. Definitely think I performed better on the big stage. I think I like the pressure of it. My first big stage was when I played Dark Passage, and that final was one of my favorite moments of esports because it just felt so great to have all this energy from the crowd. It was very energetic to be in like a huge stadium with a lot of people, because you can feel when the ground is shaking almost from the claps or the stomps, and you can hear just like a lot of cheering as well. So it feels good. Definitely would be insane to go to Munich. It's been a long time since we played in a huge stadium, and I think getting that experience is definitely worth it. Yeah, I mean, definitely we might pull out some more AD carries that will probably come up with some new strats.
Done.
Done.
There we go.
Break?
Break.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Red Bull gives you wings.